There's a vehicle in China right now that doesn't just drive, it decides on its own when the road is no longer the best option. And once you see what it does next, you start to realize something strange. Traffic might not work the way it used to. In this video, you'll see a machine that doesn't follow roads. It switches between them and something else entirely. A vehicle that can drive, take off vertically, and navigate without a pilot. But what makes this different is not how it moves, it's how it chooses to. For decades, transportation followed fixed paths. Cars stayed on roads, aircraft stayed in the sky, and everything depended on infrastructure that couldn't adapt. If traffic built up, you slowed down. If a route was blocked, you stopped. No matter how advanced the vehicle became, it was still limited by the system it moved in. But that's starting to change, not by making vehicles faster, but by removing the limits they've always depended on. Because this isn't just a vehicle that moves differently, it's one that decides how movement should happen. Now here's where things start to shift. This is the XPeng Aero HT Land aircraft carrier, a six-wheeled electric vehicle that carries an aircraft inside itself, not attached, not separate, stored within the body of the vehicle. When activated, the top section opens and a fully electric flying module lifts out. It rises vertically, stabilizes itself mid-air, and transitions into forward flight, all without a runway, all without a pilot. This means the vehicle doesn't just take you somewhere, it changes the space you can move through. But the real shift isn't that it can fly. It's what happens when the system decides the road isn't worth using anymore. Because that decision isn't random, it's calculated in real time. It constantly evaluates the situation around it, traffic density, distance, time constraints, and when the road becomes inefficient, the system doesn't wait, it transitions. Driving turns into flight, not as an emergency solution, but as a normal decision. The ground module stays behind, while the flight module continues. Two modes, one system. This means the vehicle doesn't follow a fixed route. It decides whether the ground is even worth using, and once movement can switch like that, the hardest part isn't getting there anymore. That hardest part was always flying. It required training, constant control, continuous correction. But here, the system handles it. It calculates the trajectory, detects obstacles in real time, and continuously adjusts its position mid-flight. Takeoff, navigation, and landing are all automated. Even unexpected changes, wind shifts, moving objects, airspace constraints, are processed instantly. This means the hardest part of flying has been removed entirely, and once flying no longer requires skill, it doesn't stay a one-off anymore, and that's when it starts to scale. This is part of something larger already being built. Low-altitude air corridors are being mapped out, defined zones in the sky, where these vehicles can move along structured paths. Not freely, not randomly, but within controlled airspace designed specifically for them. These corridors are already being planned across major cities, with fixed routes, altitude layers, and designated takeoff and landing zones. So instead of every vehicle deciding independently where to go, they move within structured airspace, keeping movement separated and predictable. Instead of one layer of movement, roads, there are now multiple: ground traffic below, air traffic above, operating at the same time, but no longer interfering with each other in the same way. This means congestion doesn't disappear, it gets moved into a completely new dimension. But once vehicles start sharing that space, things don't stay predictable anymore. Now, every movement has to line up exactly. Position, speed, and direction are continuously transmitted, not just to a central system, but to other vehicles operating in the same space. So instead of reacting to what's already happening, each vehicle is constantly adjusting based on where everything else is about to be. Flight paths aren't fixed, they're recalculated in real time. If one vehicle changes speed, others adjust before they even get close. If a path becomes crowded, routes are shifted dynamically, keeping distance, timing, and alignment intact. This isn't navigation in the traditional sense. It's coordination, positioning, timing, and spacing have to stay perfectly aligned, not reacting, but anticipating. This means traffic doesn't build up, because the system never allows it to form. But once everything has to align like that, what happens when something doesn't? Because it was never the distance. It was everything in between. Intersections, detours, delays, points where movement had to slow down, stop, or change direction. Every route on the ground is shaped by constraints, roads that don't go straight, traffic that builds up, and systems that force vehicles into the same limited paths. But when movement shifts into the air, those constraints disappear. There are no intersections to wait at, no lanes to merge into, no fixed routes to follow, only a starting point and an end point. Movement becomes direct, continuous, uninterrupted. Instead of navigating through a system, you move across it. And that changes how distance is experienced, because travel is no longer defined by the path you're forced to take, but by how directly you can move between 2 points. This means movement doesn't just get faster, it starts changing how distance itself is experienced. But the biggest shift isn't how one vehicle moves, it's what happens when thousands of them do. Because now they're all moving through the same space. The system is being prepared for scale. China is already mapping urban air corridors, testing coordinated flight systems, and building the infrastructure needed to support large fleets of these vehicles. Not dozens, not hundreds, but tens of thousands, all moving at once, adjusting in real time. And when that happens, movement stops being constrained by roads. Cities expand outward. Travel times collapse inward. Entire regions become connected in ways that were never possible before. This means movement doesn't just get faster, it stops depending on the path entirely. And once movement works like this, where you live stops limiting where you can go. Because for the first time, movement isn't tied to a single surface anymore. Vehicles like this aren't being developed as concepts. They're already moving toward real-world deployment. The flying module inside the Xpeng system is designed for mass production, with plans already pointing toward large-scale rollout within the next few years. At the same time, fully autonomous air vehicles like the EHang 216S are already certified to carry passengers without a pilot. Not in testing, in operation. And this doesn't stop at individual vehicles. Entire low-altitude networks are being mapped out, structured air corridors designed to support continuous movement above cities. Systems that could scale to tens of thousands of vehicles, all operating within the same airspace. Remote regions, dense cities, difficult terrain, all becoming part of the same system. This means where you are matters less, because how you move is no longer limited to the ground. And when the road is no longer necessary, you have to ask, what exactly are we still building roads for?